Hi and welcome, my name's James from Livestorm. Thanks for joining us today. Today we'll be looking at how to turn every event engagement into automated workflows using our HubSpot integration. If you're running events, you're generating highly engaged leads, but the real opportunity lies in what happens after the event is finished. Today I'll show you 3 real-world automation examples used by marketing and sales teams to convert attendees into customers automatically. By the end of this video, you will know how to auto-assign leads, re-engage no-shows, and automate lead scoring. To follow along, you'll need a Livestorm account on any plan, a HubSpot Professional or Enterprise account for advanced workflows, and the HubSpot integration enabled. Okay, so jumping into our Livestorm dashboard. Data flows from Livestorm into HubSpot via marketing events and timeline activities. In the first video of this HubSpot video series, we've covered in great detail how to connect HubSpot and Livestorm. If you haven't already checked out that video, or if you haven't connected your integration, I'd recommend checking out the first video as a starting point. But if you just want to confirm that your HubSpot integration is enabled in Livestorm, please click on Apps. And if we scroll down here and we find HubSpot, we can see that that is enabled. So we can just click on HubSpot here and we can just confirm all of the details, turned on and connected, marketing events, create automatically a marketing event for upcoming and on-demand sessions. If you'd like the full instructions for setting up your HubSpot integration, please check out the first video in this video series. Now we can see that HubSpot is enabled. So now that we've confirmed that our HubSpot integration is enabled in Livestorm, jumping into HubSpot, if we click on Marketing, Events, in the Marketing Events section, this displays all your sessions, registrants and attendees without manual list building. Click on any of your marketing events. These are your event sessions in Livestorm. We can see 13 registrants in this example and 5 attendees. And when you open any contact record, you'll see the Livestorm timeline events showing their complete event journey. Beyond just attendance, you get granular data like their attendance rating in percentage, duration in minutes, and the number of questions or polls they've engaged with. This precision allows you to distinguish between someone who's simply just dipped in or a truly high intent lead. So for our first automation example, we're going to look at auto-assigning hot leads to sales. First step here is in HubSpot, if you navigate to Automation and then click on Workflows. So the first step here, if we click on Create Workflow and we select from scratch, and the first step here is to just give it a meaningful name. Event, attendee, high intent assignment. Okay, good. So the next step here is on the left for triggers. We want to set the enrollment triggers. Let's just search for Livestorm. And in this example, we'll use Livestorm people attended live. And the next step here is we want to add criteria and we want to search for attendance rate. And the value operator we want to select here is greater than or equal to. Let's put 75 for 75%. And then we can click on Done. Okay, great. So we have our criteria set. And let's click on Next. And here we have an eligible record setting. So the eligible record setting allows you to add additional filters to ensure that only a specific subset of contacts who meet the start trigger actually enter the workflow. For example, you could use this to filter out internal employees, existing customers, competitors, people that you don't want to be enrolled in this workflow. For this example, we'll just leave it blank and click on Next, but that is there and you may like to use it. So we'll click on Next. Finally, we have a last option here, re-enroll. The re-enroll setting determines whether a contact who has already gone through the workflow once can enter it again if they trigger the enrollment conditions for a second time. It's completely up to you depending on your workflow. It is disabled by default. We'll leave it as disabled for now and click on Save and Continue. Finally, we can add the action to assign these leads. So if we search for owner here, in the CRM section here, rotate record to owner. And we have some options here. So for the contact owner, there's the option here to overwrite if the contact already has an existing owner. You can leave that deselected or selected if you like, and rotate between specific users or between specific teams. And then we can click on Save. And as a final step, we can review and turn on. There are some settings that you can review here. Timing settings, performance settings. Let's just scroll through these. Connections. We have a default note here. You can give it a more meaningful description if you like, and turn on workflow. Okay, so to confirm in our automation section, if we click on workflows, okay, great. We can see our new workflow has been created. It's switched on. And if we scroll across here, enrolled total, you can see how many people have been enrolled into that workflow. If you want some more details on this, you can click on the workflow. In the menu on the top left of the workflow, if you click on view, there is an option here for enrollment history. You can see exactly who's been enrolled via this workflow. By automating this assignment, you ensure that your sales team is reaching out to your most engaged prospects while the session is still fresh in their mind. For marketing, this means no more manual lead routing or CSV exports. For sales, it provides the context that they need, knowing exactly how long a prospect stayed to have more relevant, high-value conversion. It's about turning live engagement into immediate action without the administrative headaches. Okay, let's move on to our second example, re-engage no-shows. So let's go ahead and create a new workflow. Click on Create Workflow from scratch, and we can give it a name, Event Replay Nurture. Okay, and again, in the triggers section, let's search for Livestorm. And here we can select people registered and select people registered. And this is the first filter, so we will click next. Okay, and for the second filter here, we'll add a condition. We'll search for Livestorm again. People attended live properties. Let's click on that. Attendance duration is equal to, and we'll say 0. So that means that they did not attend the event. And we'll click on next. And you have the same re-enroll setting here if you would like to enable that. So let's save and continue. Let's have a look at some of the actions that we can take here. In the first example, we assign that to a team or assign that to a sales team. This example, let's look for send email. So let's say that if someone registered for the event and then they didn't attend the event, we want to send them an email. Good to explore all the options here and see what you can and what you can't do. There's a communication section. There's many different things that you can do here. In this example, let's look for send email. Now you can choose an email template that you've already set up, or you can create a new email. So maybe you've already got a template that you'd like to use, and there's a whole bunch of different email settings here that you can use. When you're happy with your email settings, you can review and turn on this workflow as well. So now you can see how you can assign leads, send emails, and trigger any other actions available in HubSpot's workflows. By combining these first two steps, you're essentially putting the event's post-show strategy on autopilot using the Livestorm HubSpot integration. So now we can see how you can assign leads and send automated emails using workflows in HubSpot. So most platforms will tell you if someone registered or how long they registered for, which is great information. But in this third example, with Livestorm's HubSpot integration, we're going to look at how you can be more precise in their engagement. You can build complex scoring systems based on their actual actions during a live event. Okay, so back on our automation dashboard in HubSpot. So let's go ahead and create a third workflow. We'll say from scratch again. Okay, and for this example, let's say event engagement, interaction scoring. Again, for the triggers, let's search for Livestorm. And this time we're going to use people attend live. And let's have a look at our criteria here. So notice that you can do and or. Let's say and. Scroll down and look at some of the options that we have here. So number of polls answered by attendee, number of questions asked. Let's say number of questions asked. Let's set that as our first one. We want to say is greater than or equal to 1. Anyone who asks one or more questions, and we want to add a criteria. Let's scroll down. Number of polls answered by attendee. Let's say is greater or equal to 1 again. This is going to capture anyone who asks one question and answers one poll. Please go ahead and take a look at all of the different settings that you can find here. Number of chat messages, let's select that as well. Greater than or equal to 3. Okay, so that's what I want to find. I want to find someone who's super engaged in this event. They've answered one poll, they've asked a question, and they've messaged a minimum of 3 times in the chat. Now you can customize this to what you want exactly. Maybe you don't have polls in your event session, or maybe you just want to capture the amount of people who ask questions. Maybe you want someone who asks 2 or more questions. It's entirely up to you what you set here. In this example, I'm looking for someone that's super engaged in this example, but you can customize that exactly how you like and click done. And again, we have this eligible record. So you might like to filter out existing customers. For this example, we won't set an eligible record. So there's no further conditions I'm looking for. So let's go to next. And again, the re-enroll option is there. For now, we're just going to leave that off and save and continue. Okay, so setting our actions again. Click on actions. You can just search for set or edit. And if you scroll down to CRM, edit record, what we want to do is we want to edit the record for the people who meet that criteria. We want to give them an engagement score. Edit record, choose property, and we're just going to search for engagement score. So I already set up an engagement score. If you haven't set up an engagement score, you can create a new contact property if you haven't already done that. In this case, I have. So Livestorm engagement score and change. So I want to say replace, and I'm going to give the value based on my scoring system. I'm going to give it a 50, and we click save. So what you can do here is you can say that that's a score of 50. You can go back and you can create a new set of properties with a new workflow. Maybe if somebody just answered one question, you might give them an engagement score of 20. And you can go back and give someone a higher score and set up another workflow that's going to change their score based on the actions and how they have engaged in your live session. Okay, so I'm going to turn on. Okay, so I'm happy with these settings here. For testing, I'm going to go ahead and manually add some registrants in my test data. Okay, I'm happy with all the settings there. Let's click on next. And we have an AI description that's generated here. You can update that if you like. So turn on workflow. Okay, so my workflow is now turned on. So let's go back to our automation menu. And we can see that my third automation is enabled. If we want to see how many people have been enrolled to any of these automations, we can just scroll over to the right here, enrolled a total of 4. So we'll click into this automation and we'll click on view, enrollment history. You can see who has been enrolled into this automation here. And let's come back into our contacts. Okay, and we can find our registrants here. Okay, so in our contact here, because this is a new field that I've set up, we just need to go to actions, customize properties, Livestorm engagement score, and we'll save. Okay, great. So I've tested the functionality of the engagement score, and I've added the new field that I created, and we can see down the bottom, Livestorm engagement score. So now that will be visible on every contact. And there you have it, 3 practical workflows that turn event engagement into automated sales and marketing actions. By using these strategies, your team stops wasting time on manual data entry and starts focusing on high-value conversions with your most engaged leads. As always, if you have any questions or you need some help building a custom workflow with a specific use case that you have, feel free to reach out to us. We're here to help. Thanks for watching. See you next time.